Hello, my name is Don Mesibov. I am founder and director of the Institute for Learning-Centered Education. And recently we have authorized what we call a significant autism initiative designed to create awareness and education among the people who have any kind of interaction with people with autism. Recently, I asked a 12-year-old boy named Grayson Delisle in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, if he would define the word autism. And immediately, Grayson said, well, people with autism think differently than you and I. And then he added, but I think that's cool because that can lead to interesting conversations. Our organization has compiled what we call 18 tips for school staff, parents, people in organizations, community organizations, and anyone interested in autism. And these tips are simple things that most of us don't know about people with autism, but once we know, they can guide us in terms of how we relate to them, and they can make a critical difference in the lives of people with autism. Now, first of all, I'd like you to think of autism as if people came from another country who didn't speak our language, didn't share our traditions and our habits, and we didn't speak their language. We wouldn't think of them as having a disability. We would just think of them as having a different culture and different traditions, language, and so forth. Well, that's the way people with autism are. They think a little differently than us, and we just have to get oriented in terms of understanding that. But my wife and I think differently than each other. You and I think differently than each other. And if we can just think of people with autism that way, it'll make a huge difference in their lives and our lives. I spoke with someone with autism recently who said, if you want me to make eye contact when I talk with you, I can do that. But then I can't focus on or hear a thing that you say. On the other hand, when I'm not looking at you, it's not because I'm not paying attention, it's just the opposite. It's because I'm focusing on hearing and understanding what you're saying. Now, how often have any of us said or are likely to say to someone, look at me when I talk to you? Well, that would be exactly the wrong thing to say to someone with autism. And each of the other 18 tips that we have to share with you are similar in that they're not things that we can be expected to know, but if we just take a minute, we can learn and understand them. And that's what this series is all about. I have written a book about the experiences of my brother, who was literally the go-to person in the world for autism for 45 years. He made 40 trips to Japan to do training, 62 trips to the United Kingdom, traveled around the world, was sought out by visiting dignitaries from Russia, from Saudi Arabia, from many other countries. And in order to write this book, I communicated with 83 different people for at least an hour or two on a Zoom. And what I'm trying to do now is just share with you some of the things that I've learned, because there really is a crisis in our schools and in our communities, because people who interact daily with people with autism don't understand or take the time to understand these simple 18 tips that can make the difference in how you perceive people with autism. And I will close this overview of our 18 tips by quoting Matthew Hardy, a young adult in England who is autistic. And Matthew said to me, the problem is not us. The problem is the perception of us by others. So join with me as we try and change the perception of people with autism to make this world a better place for them and help them make it a better place for us. Because I can tell you that the resumes of many of these people who have autism and have had the support that they need and are entitled to, their resumes dwarf anything that I could hope to accomplish in my lifetime.